Hi there, and welcome to Teach Kids Money TV. My name is Maya Korbik, and today I would like to speak about allowance. And if you had watched one of our previous videos, we actually did a video on how we do allowance in our house. And we did it with piggy banks and coins and bills, dollar bills. And that was actually fine for the time when my kids were smaller. Since that time, things have changed, and we actually started doing things a little bit different. So I'd like to talk about that. Back about a couple of years ago, we actually would give our kids a certain dollar value in coins and cash, and we would ask them to split it into savings and spending. So we would do half and half. That was the requirement for our family. And I encourage you to figure out what works for your family. I do want to mention that things that I'm introducing here, they work for us. They may not necessarily work for you, but at least they will give you some ideas how you can potentially approach this in your own household. So the cash system actually worked really well when the kids were little, because the kids were able to see it. They were able to count the cash or count the coins and learn how the coins and the cash relate to each other, and that worked really great. However, now that they're older, we actually opened up bank accounts for them, and what we do now is that when it's allowance time, I transfer the money from my checking account into their checking account, and then from there we take half and we put it into their savings account. The money accumulates in the savings account, and then also if they get any birthday money or Christmas money, they put it in the savings account, and then once it reaches a certain amount, we put it into investing. For their checking account, the amount that's in there is basically for them to spend. And I have covered spending in one of the other videos before. I will put some links below to the other videos, but I'm not going to go much into, I'm actually not going to talk about spending in this video at all. But what happens with this money that is in the checking account is that my kids can spend on anything that they want. And they have their debit cards or bank cards, and they don't carry these bank cards with them. Most of the time, these bank cards are at home. We do take them with us, or I put them in my wallet when we go shopping. Like if I'm going to the mall and I'm taking the kids with me, I know that most likely they will want to purchase something from the mall, so I will bring their debit card with me, and it will be in my wallet as we're walking through the mall, and if the kids want to use it, then I give it to them to use. Once only actually happened that they had a book fair at the school, and my daughter asked for her bank card, and she took it to school and she bought some books with her own money, and then she brought it home, and I could actually see exactly what she bought on her online bank statement. One thing that I taught my kids that's actually really important is to make sure that they do not share their PIN, personal identification number, when it comes to their bank card. I explained to them they can't share with their friends, even if that's their best friend. I know it, but other than me and my husband, nobody else knows it. And so they also know that when they're putting in their PIN number, they have to protect it, they have to hide it. And it doesn't matter how silly that looks, they still do it. The reason why we actually ended up switching to online banking or online way of giving allowance is because our society is moving more towards the cashless system. Personally, I'm not very happy about it. I do like cash better. And I also believe that, back in the day when we used to carry a lot of cash or just cash in our wallets, every time we wanted to spend it on something, I think that we were a little bit more cognizant when spending. There was, I think, a certain psychological effect seeing that cash leave the wallet, and we actually had a chance to think about, is this really a necessary purchase? And if not, perhaps, you know what, I'd prefer to keep that cash in that wallet rather than, seeing it leave my wallet and my wallet becoming empty. Nowadays, it's a little bit different because, or actually a lot different, because a lot of us do not carry cash with us anymore, and so we use our debit cards or credit cards to pay for things. And when we use these, some of us don't really know how much we're spending. People are not really keeping track of how much they're spending on their credit card. They're also not keeping track of how much money they have in their bank account. So it's a lot harder to wrap our heads around spending, and it makes it a lot harder to save. So, I think that yes, even though I don't like that we're moving towards this cashless system, I really need to, as a parent, I need to be responsible, and I need to make sure that my kids are ready and they know how this system operates and that they know how to use bank cards. So one of the things, for example, that I'd like to also mention is that Payments Canada, it's an organization actually that conducts research on Canadians' spending habits and payment habits. They actually produce a report every few years, and last year in 2019 they produced this Canadian Payments and Trends report. And according to this report, only 1% of dollar value of purchases was actually paid by cash. And in terms of the number of the transactions, so let's say if we have 100 transactions, 21 of them were paid by cash. So these numbers have actually decreased significantly since their last research in 2013. And there's definitely that trend that yes, we are moving towards cashless society. And Canada is actually one of the top countries that is taking that journey. And in terms of the credit card use in 2019, Canadians were reported as basically the second biggest users in the world, just behind South Korea. So that's pretty interesting, I think. Anyway, so as a parent, I feel like I have the responsibility to teach my kids to be money smart and to prepare them to what's coming in the future. You can choose what you think is best for your family. One other thing I'd like to mention is that the reason why I think it's important to teach them about cashless system is for them to actually exercise their purchasing power and their thinking before they actually go ahead and buy something. And what I mean by that is, I'm not sure where you're watching from, but in Canada we have something called TAP. So back in the day, we would actually put our credit card through, put in the number, the PIN number, or we would sign the receipt. Now, actually, any transactions below $100, we just take a credit card and we just tap the device and the transaction goes through. What this does, in my personal opinion, is that it doesn't really give an opportunity to a customer to think about this purchase, whether or not this purchase is really a need or a want, or do they have enough money in their bank account so that they can actually pay for their credit card purchase once this credit card purchase is done. So it's very different, I think, psychologically and in many different ways than it was when we used to use cash. And that is the reason why I think we need to almost train our kids that before they tap or before they put in their PIN, to actually really stop and think, do I really need this? Is this a need or is this a want? And so, as I said, for us, we've switched to this online allowance system. And so far it works great. It also works great when I forget to give them allowance, and I don't know how many weeks it's been, and they come to me, and sometimes I just think it's been 2 weeks, but it's actually been 3 or 4. So I have to actually give them the right amount that I usually give them. But it's actually nice because the bank statements give me this nice picture of what we spent money, what they spent money on, when was the last time I gave them allowance, so we can easily keep track of everything. So there is the aspect of convenience, that actually works really well when it comes to this. Anyway, but I leave it to you to do whatever you think is best for your family. I do think that as they get older, especially when they become teenagers, they need to know this stuff and we need to prepare them. But I'm actually open to hear from you. And if you have any comments about this, or if you would like to share what it is that you are doing with your kids, please put them below. I look forward to those. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It would really help me out. And if you actually think that somebody else can benefit from this, please forward it to them. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.